All right, I typed this in there before. Let's do it again. 5, 3, B. All right, here we go. We are starting, if you haven't noticed. All right, we're going to do 4 rules, okay, with logarithms. And let's put the pen right here. All right, we've started. We're starting. Okay, thank you. All right, so here's the first rule. We call this the product rule. Oh my goodness. Let's get out of this. I don't know why it always defaults to that, but all right, let's try this again. Here we go. We call it the product rule. And the rule, product because it's multiplication. So basically when you have something like this, when you have the log of a certain base, let's just call it xy. Now, if these things are being multiplied together, I'm not going to go through some big explanation on why this is true, but you'll find out. This is not really an explanation. This just is kind of a something to look back on and like, oh yeah, multiplication and addition do kind of go together. For instance, if I had x squared times x to the 5th, we remember what that is. What is that? It's x to the 7th. Well, this is not an addition problem. It's what? It's a multiplication problem. But multiplication and addition do have a relationship with each other here, don't they? Do you see that? You took a multiplication, and what'd you do? You added to get this. Well, this is kind of the same idea. I could go through some big, long explanation to show you why. I'm not going to, because I don't think you're going to be that interested anyway, all right? But just understand this, that multiplication and addition definitely have some kind of relationship with each other. So that's what we're going to do here. Watch. We're not going to, let me just write it down. I'll just show you. So we put log base b of x. Now watch. This is kind of weird because this is multiplication. You'd think you'd put multiply here, but you don't. You put addition. You put a plus sign, all right? And then it's log base b of y. So when you see this, when you see these two numbers right here being multiplied together and there's one logarithm out front, that tells you that you turn it into an addition problem. It's the product rule because these two things are being multiplied. So this is a multiplication right here, but what do you do to simplify it or to expand it out? You take them separately. Take the log base b of x, and then you take the log base b of y. You don't multiply them together. What do? Talk to me. You add them together, all right? You wouldn't believe how many times I've taught this and say this over and over and over again, and then people get to the homework or they get to a quiz or a test, and what do you think they do? You think they multiply them together, okay? But it's not, and it's addition problem. Okay, we take multiplication, turn it into addition. All right, the next rule is called the quotient rule. Actually, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. What am I talking about? It's the quotient rule. Did I spell that right? Yeah, looks kind of weird. All right. So watch. Now it's quotient. So what does quotient represent? Product is multiplication. What's quotient? It's division, okay? So what do you think this is? It's going to be log base b of what? Not x times y, but, good, x over y. So if you have one logarithm out in front, then you have an x over y. What we can do is we can change the form of it. Now watch. Do you remember back in algebra you did this? You went x to the 8th over x to the 3rd. What's that? Subtract the exponents, didn't you? So division and subtraction do have a relationship with each other, don't they? So that's what we're going to do here. So looking at this, you could pretty much figure out what this is going to be. This is going to be log base b of x. What do you think? Minus, good, log base b of y. All right, that's all there is to that. All right. Actually, I said there's 4 rules. I think there's only going to be 3. Let's do the product rule. No. What am I saying? I already did product rule. I know it started with a P. It's power rule. Doesn't that sound kind of cool? The power rule. Maybe not so cool. I don't know. I think it does. All right, so here we go. Here's the power rule. Watch. If you have log base b of x to the y power, all right, that's why it's called the power rule, because you have an exponent, all right? So it's log base b of x to the y power. Now watch this. It kind of relates to what we've talked about before. Let's go back in time to algebra and let's see what we've learned before. Let's think of one. Let's go x, I don't know, to the third. Take that to the seventh. What's the rule here? You're taking an exponent to another power, aren't you? But what are you doing really to these? You're not really taking it 3 to the 7th, are you? You're multiplying them together, exactly right. So you take x to the what? 21st. Do you see how taking something to a power and multiplication relate to each other? It's the same kind of thing here. It's a little bit different, but just watch what we do. This is kind of an interesting rule. It's probably one that you wouldn't have thought of yourself. What we're going to do is we're going to take this y, this exponent, and all we're going to do is we're going to chuck it out in front, and we're going to multiply it. So we take something that's an exponent and we turn it into multiplication, just like we did here. We took this exponent, but what did we do to those two things? We multiplied them together. So if we want to rewrite this, we would write y log base b of x. All right? So those are our three rules: product, quotient, power. Product rule means you take a multiplication, you turn it into addition. Quotient, you take division, turn it into subtraction. Power rule, you take an exponent, you take that thing, you throw it out front, and you turn it into multiplication. Same thing would hold true. Watch, we could go the other way too, couldn't we? What if you had a number out in front like this?
Put it up top.
That's right. You just take that and make that into an exponent. You see that? That's the kind of stuff that you're going to be doing. All right? You could go the other way. Sometimes they would have it written like this, but sometimes you might want to simplify it, and you may want to change this thing into that form. All right? It just depends on the problem, what they want you to do, what you're trying to solve for. All right? It all depends on that. So going from one to the other, or from this one back to this. You can go either way. It doesn't make any difference. Write those rules down. Learn them. They're really not that hard to work with. For instance, let's just do a quick little example. We've got a couple minutes here. So let's go, I'm just going to make one up. Log base 5 of 7. Actually, let's use something else besides 7. Let's use like 12. Okay, log base 5 of 12 minus log base 5. Now, in order to do this, what was true about my bases right here? They were the same. That has to be true. You can't go log base 5 of 12 and log base 4 of something. They have to be the same. What's that?
It would be different letters.
That's right. If you could do different ones, they would be different letters. The reason that they're the same letter is because they have to represent the same base, okay, the same exact number. All right, and let's just say 3. So what if I wanted to, they'll still tell you to, I don't know what they say, simplify it. This problem says, write the expression as a single logarithm with a coefficient of 1. That seems kind of wordy, but let's do that. So a single logarithm, that's what we want to do. So here's 2 logarithms. That's not a single logarithm. What do? They got the same base, so we write log base 5. Now it's a subtraction, okay, in logarithms. If I want to put the 12 and 3 together, how am I going to do that? I don't subtract 12 and 3. I make it into a division, right? 12 divided by 3. See that rule? See, we're using the subtraction, or turning it into a division problem. That's what that quotient rule tells you to do. So we could just simplify this and say log base 5, 12 over 3. What is that? It's 4. If you want to use that, that rule, change of base theorem, remember that? We talked about it a little bit earlier. You can use the change of base theorem and figure out what that is. Tell you what, just for fun, let's go ahead and figure out what that is. I mean, I just made it up, but that's okay. Let's turn this on. So how would I do this in the calculator? It's just good review. If I wanted to do this, the change of base theorem says I'm going to take log 4. Now there's something I'm leaving out on this. It's called common logarithm, base 10, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I think this is easy enough to show you right off the bat without any explanation. So watch, log 4, and then make sure you close the parentheses, divided by log 5. And then equals, and then that would be your answer. It would be 0.86 whatever. All right? And that's it. I'll give you a worksheet, and that's all we have to do.